My name is Sarah, and I'm 26 years old. I have a story about the day I discovered my family went on what they called the perfect family vacation to Hawaii. A vacation they never told me about, never invited me to, and then posted all over social media for me to find out like a complete stranger. What they didn't know was that I had been the one secretly funding their lifestyle for years, and I was about to make sure they understood exactly what that meant. I need to start from the beginning, so you understand just how deep this betrayal went. Growing up, I was always the responsible one in my family. While my younger sister Emma got praised for every mediocre grade and every small accomplishment, I was expected to excel at everything without recognition. When Emma got a C+ on a math test, my parents threw her a celebration dinner. When I got straight A's and won the state mathematics competition, they said, "We expect nothing less from you, Sarah." But the real difference became clear when we both turned 18. Emma wanted to go to an expensive private college to study art, something my parents immediately supported, despite the $60,000 yearly tuition. When I got accepted to the same university for engineering with a partial scholarship, they told me I needed to figure out how to pay the remaining $25,000 myself because you're so smart, you'll find a way. So I did. I worked 3 jobs while maintaining a 3.8 GPA. I was a tutor, a research assistant, and I worked weekends at a coffee shop. Every semester, I scraped together enough money for tuition, books, and basic living expenses. Meanwhile, Emma's college experience was fully funded. Tuition, housing, meal plans, even spending money for her social activities. After graduation, I landed a great job as a software engineer making $85,000 a year. Emma graduated with an art degree and moved back home, where she spent her days painting in the garage and her evenings going out with friends. That's when the financial requests started. It began small. "Sarah, could you help with the electric bill this month?" Emma's still looking for work and money's tight. Then it was the car payment, then groceries, then Emma's student loan payments. Within 6 months of graduating, I was essentially supporting my entire family. My parents had somehow convinced me that since I was doing so well and Emma was still finding her path, it was only fair that I help out. They made me feel guilty for having stability while my sister struggled, but here's what really hurt. Every family dinner, every conversation, every holiday gathering was still centered around Emma. Her art, her dreams, her potential. Galleries showing that never happened, her latest romantic drama. I would sit there, having just paid their mortgage payment, listening to them discuss Emma's life like I wasn't even in the room. I told myself it was temporary. Emma would find a job, get on her feet, and I could stop being the family bank account. I told myself they appreciated what I was doing, even if they didn't say it. I was wrong about everything. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening in March. I had just worked a 12-hour day debugging a critical system error at work. I was exhausted, stressed, and looking forward to a quiet evening when my phone rang. "Sarah, honey, we need to talk about something," my mother said, her voice unusually nervous. "What's wrong? Is everyone okay?" "Oh yes, everyone's fine. It's just, well, you know how Emma's been feeling down lately about not finding her dream job?" I did know. Emma had been feeling down for 8 months while I paid her expenses. "Your father and I think she needs something to lift her spirits. A change of scenery, you know? Something to inspire her art." I had a sinking feeling about where this was going. We found this amazing art retreat in Hawaii. It's a 2-week program where she can paint, take workshops, really immerse herself in creativity. It would be perfect for her. "Mom, how much does this retreat cost?" Well, that's the thing. With airfare and the program fee and accommodations, it comes to about $4,500. I sat in my car in my work parking lot, calculator in hand, running the numbers in my head. I had been giving my family $2,200 every month for 8 months. That was over $17,000 I had contributed to keeping their household running, while Emma found herself. "I can't do $4,500 right now, Mom. I just paid for Emma's car insurance and your property taxes last week." The silence stretched uncomfortably. "Sarah, I'm disappointed in you. Your sister needs this. She's been depressed, and you know art is her passion. We're not asking you to pay for a vacation. This is an investment in her future." "An investment? Mom, I've invested over $17,000 in this family in the past 8 months. Don't..." Be dramatic. You make good money and family helps family. Besides, Emma would do the same for you if the situation were reversed. Would she? Emma had never contributed a single dollar to household expenses. She had never offered to help with groceries, utilities, or any of the bills I had been covering. But somehow, I was the selfish one for hesitating to fund her Hawaiian art retreat. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I agreed to pay for the retreat. But this time, I was going to pay attention to how my family really felt about me. I was going to watch, listen, and finally see the truth I had been avoiding for years. Little did I know that the truth was going to be so much worse than I ever imagined, and that this Hawaiian retreat would become the catalyst for the most humiliating and enlightening experience of my life. What I found out over the next 2 weeks would shatter everything I believed about my family and force me to make a choice that would change all our lives forever. But that was just the beginning. The Hawaii trip was scheduled for early April. Emma spent weeks talking about it, the workshops she'd attend, the inspiration she'd find, how this was exactly what she needed to launch her art career. My parents were so excited for her, constantly bringing up how proud they were that they could give her this opportunity. They could give her this opportunity. With my money. I had transferred the $4,500 to my mother's account 3 weeks before Emma's departure. I watched my savings account drop below $10,000 for the first time since college, but I told myself it was worth it if it really helped my sister. The day Emma left, I got a text from her. "Thank you for making this possible, Sarah. I'll send you pictures." It was the first time in months she had directly acknowledged my financial contribution to anything. I actually felt good about it. For the first week, I received exactly what she promised: pictures. Emma at the airport, Emma on the beach with her easel, Emma at a sunset painting workshop. The images showed her genuinely happy and inspired. Maybe this really was what she needed, but something felt off about the photos. In several of them, I could see other people in the background, people who looked familiar. In one beach shot, I could swear I saw someone who looked like my father's distinctive red baseball cap. In another, there was a woman in the background, wearing a floral dress identical to one I had bought my mother for Christmas. I told myself I was being paranoid. Hawaii was a popular destination. Lots of people had red baseball caps and floral dresses. Then, on Thursday of the second week, my cousin Jessica called me. "Sarah, I have to ask you something, and please don't be mad at me for bringing this up." "What's wrong, Jess? Are you in Hawaii right now?" My blood ran cold. "No, I'm at work." "Why would you think that?" "Because your parents just posted the most amazing family vacation photos on Facebook. They're all in Hawaii. Your mom, your dad, Emma, even your Aunt Linda and Uncle Mike. The caption says, 'Perfect family vacation in paradise.' So grateful for this amazing time together." "There are like 50 photos, Sarah. They're at luau's, snorkeling, fancy dinners, helicopter tours." I couldn't breathe. "Jessica, can you screenshot those posts and send them to me?" "Of course. Sarah." "I'm so sorry. I assumed you were there and just not in the photos they chose to post. I can't believe they would." I hung up and waited. Within 5 minutes, my phone was buzzing with notifications as Jessica sent me screenshot after screenshot. My entire family was in Hawaii. Not just Emma for her art retreat. Everyone. My parents were wearing matching Hawaiian shirts, holding tropical drinks, grinning at the camera. Emma wasn't at painting workshops. She was parasailing, snorkeling, and posing at expensive restaurants. Uncle Mike and Aunt Linda, who lived 3 states away, were there too, along with their 2 teenage sons. As I scrolled through the photos, I saw activities that cost hundreds of dollars per person. The helicopter tour alone was $300 each. The resort they were staying at, I looked it up, started at $400 per night. They weren't staying at some budget art retreat accommodation. They were living it up at a luxury resort. My hands were shaking as I calculated the costs in my head. This wasn't a $4,500 art retreat. This was easily a $15,000 family vacation, and they had lied to me about every single detail. But the photos that hurt the most were the family group shots. Everyone was there, laughing, posing, clearly having the time of their lives. In one photo, they were all wearing matching t-shirts that said Johnson Family Paradise 2024. I wasn't just not invited. I had been erased from the family narrative, entirely while simultaneously being expected to fund it. I sat in my office bathroom stall and cried for 20 minutes. When I finally composed myself, I did something I had never done before. I called my mother directly while she was still in Hawaii. "Sarah, how lovely to hear from you. How are things at home?" "Mom, I'm looking at your Facebook posts right now." The silence was deafening. "Sarah, I can explain. You told me Emma needed $4,500 for an art retreat. You're all at a luxury resort. You have Uncle Mike and Aunt Linda there. This is a family vacation that probably cost $20,000, and you lied to me to get me to help pay for it. Now, Sarah, don't be dramatic. Emma is doing art activities." "Mom, you lied to me. You took my money under false pretenses and then went on a family vacation without me. Do you understand how that feels?" "Sarah, you're being very selfish right now. You make good money, and we thought you were too busy with work to take time off. We didn't want to burden you with planning a big family trip." I almost laughed. Too busy with work to take time off, but not too busy to fund their vacation. "So, instead of inviting me, you decided to lie to me and take my money?" "It's not like that. Emma really did need something to lift her spirits, and we thought a family trip would be good for everyone. You're always so stressed with work anyway." "I'm stressed with work because I'm supporting all of you financially. I've given you over $20,000 in the past year. And we're grateful, sweetie. But you don't need to make everything about money. This is about family." That's when I heard my father's voice in the background. "Is that Sarah? Tell her we'll bring her back a souvenir." A souvenir. They were going to bring me back a $5 keychain after I funded their $20,000 vacation that I wasn't invited to. "Mom, I have to go. Sarah, don't be upset. We'll talk when we get back and you'll understand." I hung up. For the next 3 days, I watched as my family posted more and more photos of their perfect family vacation. Fancy dinners, spa treatments, private beach cabanas, cultural tours. They were living like millionaires on my dime while I ate ramen noodles at my desk because I had given them so much of my income that I barely had enough left for groceries. But the post that broke me was the one my mother shared on Friday night. It was a group photo of all of them at a sunset dinner on the beach. The caption read, "So blessed to have such an amazing family. Emma's art retreat has turned into the most wonderful family bonding experience. There's nothing more important than family, and we're so grateful we could all be here together to support Emma's dreams." Family. First. Blessed, Bar's paradise. Perfect vacation. 37 people liked the post. 12 people commented about how lucky they were to have such a close family, how beautiful they all looked, how wonderful it was that they were all together. I screenshot that post and stared at it for an hour. That's when I realized something that changed everything. They weren't just lying to me about the vacation. They were lying to everyone else about me. People who knew me were commenting things like, "Such a beautiful family," and "Love that you're all together." No one was asking where I was because my parents had crafted a narrative where I simply didn't exist. I had been erased from the family story while being forced to fund it. But what I discovered next would make this betrayal look like nothing compared to what they had really been doing behind my back for years. That's when I realized I needed to dig deeper, and what I found would shatter every assumption I had about my relationship with my family. The weekend my family was returning from Hawaii, I did something I had never done before. I started investigating my own family's finances. If they could afford a $20,000 vacation while claiming they needed my help with basic expenses, I needed to understand where their money was really going. I started with what I could access legally: public records, social media histories, and information they had shared with me directly over the years. The first revelation came from my father's LinkedIn profile, which I had never thought to check before. According to his employment history, he had received a promotion 8 months ago, right around the time they started asking me for financial help. His new title was Senior Regional Manager, which, according to salary websites, paid between $75,000 and $95,000 annually. My mother had also gone back to work 6 months ago as a part-time office administrator, earning around $25,000 annually. Together, they were making at least $100,000 per year, more than enough to cover their mortgage, utilities, and Emma's basic expenses. So why did they need my $2,200 every month? I decided to look at their social media more carefully, going back months before the Hawaii trip. What I found made me sick to my stomach. 3 months ago, my father had posted photos of a brand new riding lawnmower. Finally upgraded the yard game. The model he posted cost $3,500. 2 months ago, my mother shared photos of a kitchen renovation. New granite countertops, new appliances, custom cabinetry. I looked up the contractor's name from her tagged photos and found their portfolio. That renovation cost at least $25,000. 6 weeks ago, Emma had posted Instagram stories from a weekend spa retreat with her friends. I looked up the spa. A weekend. Package there cost $800 per person. 1 month ago, my parents had posted photos from their anniversary dinner at the most expensive steakhouse in town. I checked the menu online. Dinner for two there easily cost $200. All of this while they were telling me they couldn't afford basic utilities and groceries. But the discovery that made me physically nauseous came when I was scrolling through my mother's Facebook photos from the past year. In a group photo from Emma's college graduation party, a party I had helped pay for, I noticed something in the background. There were catering trays from an upscale catering company, professional floral arrangements, and what looked like a bartender. This wasn't the simple family gathering they had described to me. This was a full-blown catered event. I had given them $800 for a small graduation celebration that had turned into what looked like a $3,000 party. I called the catering company directly. "Hi, I'm calling about an event you catered in May for the Johnson family. I'm Sarah Johnson, and I'm trying to get information for insurance purposes." "Of course, the graduation party. That was such a lovely event. Your parents were wonderful to work with. Could you remind me of the final cost? I need it for our records." "Absolutely. Let me pull that up. Here we are." The final invoice was $2,847 for service for 40 guests, including the premium bar package and floral arrangements. 40 guests. Premium bar package. Professional floral arrangements. They had told me they needed $800 for cake and groceries, for a small family gathering. I hung up and sat in my apartment, staring at the evidence I had compiled. For over a year, my family had been living a lifestyle they couldn't afford by lying to me about their financial needs, using my money for luxuries while claiming they couldn't afford necessities. But I still didn't understand the full scope of their deception until I decided to do something that felt like a violation, but had become necessary. I looked at Emma's Venmo transactions. Emma's Venmo account was public, and what I saw there made everything click into place. Over the past 6 months, Emma had been receiving regular payments from my parents. $500 here, $300 there, $200 for shopping, $400 for girls' weekend, $600 for art supplies. She wasn't unemployed and struggling. She was receiving an allowance of approximately $1,500 per month from my parents. My parents were giving Emma more spending money per month than most people made at full-time minimum wage jobs, and they were funding it with money they were getting from me by lying about financial hardship. I was working 50-hour weeks and eating instant noodles so Emma could get weekly pedicures and buy $200 art supplies. But the final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. My neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, knocked on my door that Sunday evening as I was processing everything I had discovered. "Sarah, dear, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is everything okay with your family?" "What do you mean, Mrs. Peterson?" "Well, your parents were over yesterday while you were at work and they were saying some things. I don't want to gossip, but I'm concerned about you. My parents had been at my apartment. I hadn't given them permission to come over and I hadn't seen them. What were they doing here?" "They said they were picking up some mail that had been delivered to your address by mistake. But Sarah, they were talking about you to each other, while they thought I couldn't hear. They were saying things about how you're so uptight about money and how you act like you're doing them some huge favor when you help out." Mrs. Peterson looked uncomfortable, but she continued. "Your mother said something about how you make enough money that helping families shouldn't be such a big deal. And your father laughed and said, she has no idea how good she has it, being single with no responsibilities." No responsibilities. I was single with no responsibilities while supporting 3 adults financially. Mrs. Peterson, what mail were they picking up? That's the thing, dear. They didn't take any mail. They had a key to your apartment and they were in there for about 20 minutes. When they came out, your father was carrying a small box. My blood ran cold. The only people who had a key to my apartment were my landlord and my parents. I had given them a spare key for emergencies. What had they taken from my apartment? I went inside and immediately started looking around. It took me 15 minutes to figure out what was missing. My checkbook was gone. Specifically, the checkbook for my savings account, the account that had my emergency fund, the account they didn't know existed. I called my bank immediately. I need to check if there have been any transactions on my savings account in the past week. Let me check that for you. Yes, there was a check processed on Friday for $2,500 written to Emma Johnson. Friday. While they were in Hawaii, they had somehow deposited a check from my account to Emma. Can you tell me where this check was deposited? It was deposited at our Hawaii branch location. They had stolen my checkbook, forged my signature, and taken $2,500 from my savings account, while they were on the vacation I had already paid for. I was the victim of theft by my own family. But as I sat there with all the evidence spread out in front of me, the lies about their financial situation, the luxury purchases made with my money, the secret payments to Emma, the forged check, I realized something that changed everything. I wasn't going to confront them with anger or tears or accusations. I was going to be smarter than that. They had underestimated me my entire life, treating me like a naive bank account. Instead of an intelligent person who could figure out their game, it was time to show them exactly how wrong they were about me, and I had the perfect plan that would give them exactly what they deserved while teaching them a lesson they would never forget. The moment had come to turn the tables, and they had no idea what was coming. Monday morning, I woke up with absolute clarity. For the first time in months, I wasn't angry or hurt or confused. I was focused. My family had built their comfortable lifestyle on lies and theft, treating me like a personal ATM while mocking me behind my back. They thought I was too naive and too people-pleasing to figure out their game, let alone do anything about it. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The first thing I did was call my bank and report the forged check. The customer service representative was shocked when I explained the situation. So your parents took your checkbook from your apartment and forged a check while they were on vacation? That's exactly what happened. I have documentation of them being in Hawaii on the day the check was deposited, and my neighbor witnessed them taking items from my apartment without permission. This is definitely check fraud and theft. Would you like to file a police report? Not yet. I want to document everything first and give them a chance to make this right. But I was already planning much more than just recovering the stolen money. I spent my lunch break that day opening a new bank account at a different bank entirely. I transferred all but $500 from my current accounts to the new account, which my parents had no knowledge of and no access to. The $500 I left was strategic, enough to cover any automatic payments, but not enough for them to steal anything significant. Then I went to a hardware store and had my apartment locks changed. I kept one set of new keys and put the other set in a safe deposit box. My parents would no longer have access to my home. But the real preparation began that evening. I created a detailed spreadsheet documenting every dollar I had given my family over the past 18 months. Bank transfers, cash payments, bills I had paid directly, everything. The total was staggering, $34,147. Then I researched every lie they had told me. I found receipts for the kitchen renovation, proof of my father's promotion and salary increase, documentation of Emma's expensive purchases, evidence of their luxury lifestyle. I created a folder with printed screenshots, bank records, and receipts that told the complete story of their deception. But I didn't stop there. I called the Hawaii resort where they had stayed and asked about their reservation. I'm calling about the Johnson family reservation from last week. I'm Sarah Johnson, and I need some information about the billing for insurance purposes. Of course! Let me pull up that reservation. I remember your family. They upgraded to the premium suite package during their stay. Could you tell me the total cost of their stay? The final bill was $18,493 for the family of 6, including the suite upgrades, spa services, excursions, and dining packages. $18,493. They had spent nearly $19,000 in Hawaii. money that came directly from the monthly payments I had been giving them while they lied about struggling financially. Wednesday evening, I got the call I was expecting. "Sarah, we're back from Hawaii. We had the most amazing time. Emma is so inspired and we all feel so refreshed. We brought you back some beautiful souvenirs." My mother's voice was cheerful and completely oblivious to what I had discovered. "That's wonderful, Mom. I'd love to hear all about it. Why don't we plan a family dinner this weekend? I have some things I'd like to discuss with everyone." "Oh, that sounds perfect. How about Sunday at our house? I'll make your favorite lasagna." "Actually, I was thinking we could do it at my apartment. I'll cook for everyone. Would 6 p.m. on Sunday work?" "Your apartment? Sarah, you know how small your place is for 5 people?" 5 people, not 6. She wasn't even counting me as part of the family she was planning for. "It'll be perfect, Mom. Trust me. Just tell everyone to be there at 6 p.m. sharp. I'm planning something special." Thursday, I took a personal day from work and made my final preparations. I went to my lawyer's office, the same attorney who had helped me with my apartment lease and employment contract negotiations. "Sarah, what can I help you with today? I need to understand my legal options regarding financial fraud by family members." I laid out the entire situation: the lies, the forged check, the theft, the systematic deception. My lawyer took notes and asked clarifying questions. "Sarah, you have grounds for criminal charges: check fraud, theft, and potentially elder financial abuse in reverse, adult children defrauding their parent. The forged check alone is a felony. I don't want to press criminal charges unless I have to. What I want is for them to understand the consequences of their actions and make full restitution. That's completely reasonable. Let me draft a formal demand letter outlining the fraudulent activities and requesting full repayment. This will serve as official documentation that you've attempted to resolve this outside of court." Friday, I picked up the demand letter and made copies of all my documentation. I also withdrew $5,000 in cash from my new bank account and put it in an envelope in my safe deposit box. I was going to need cash for the next phase of my plan. Saturday, I went grocery shopping for Sunday's dinner. But I wasn't buying ingredients for lasagna. I was buying ingredients for a very different kind of meal, one that would cost exactly $23.47. The same amount my family had told me they needed for emergency groceries the week before they went to Hawaii. I bought generic pasta, generic sauce, generic bread, and generic salad mix, the cheapest versions of everything. The kind of food you buy when you're actually struggling financially. Sunday morning, I set up my apartment carefully. I printed out every piece of evidence I had collected and organized it in a folder on my kitchen counter. I set up my phone to record video. I prepared my cheap dinner, and then I called each family member individually. "Hi, Dad. I'm so excited for tonight. Just to confirm, you'll be here at 6 p.m.? "Of course, sweetheart. We're all looking forward to it. Your mother's been talking about how proud she is of you for wanting to host the family." "Proud of me for hosting the family with money I earned while they stole from me." "Hi, Emma. Are you excited for dinner tonight?" "Yeah, it'll be fun." "Thanks for cooking for us, Sarah. I know how busy you are with work." "Oh, I'm not too busy for family. Family is the most important thing, right?" "Absolutely. See you tonight." By 5:30 p.m., I was ready. The cheap dinner was prepared. The evidence was organized. My phone was set to record. I had rehearsed what I was going to say. At exactly 6 p.m., my doorbell rang. I opened the door to see my parents, Emma, Uncle Mike, and Aunt Linda all carrying gift bags and wearing huge smiles. "Sarah, we missed you so much." My mother hugged me, and I could smell expensive perfume, probably purchased in Hawaii with my money. "We brought you the most beautiful souvenirs," Emma said, handing me a gift bag. "Wait until you see what we found for you." They all filed into my small apartment, commenting on how nice it looked, how they were so happy to be together as a family again. Uncle Mike handed me a bottle of wine. "We thought you might enjoy this. We picked it up at the resort in Hawaii." A bottle of wine that probably cost $40, given to me by people who had just spent $19,000 of my money on a vacation they didn't invite me to. "Thank you all so much. Please sit down. Dinner is almost ready." They arranged themselves around my small dining table, chatting about their Hawaii adventures, showing me photos on their phones, describing the amazing activities they had done. I set the table with my cheapest plates, and served the generic pasta with generic sauce, the stale bread, and the wilted salad, the conversation stopped. "Sarah," my mother said carefully, "what is this?" "This is dinner. I made pasta. But this looks like... Is this generic brand everything?" "Yes, it is. It cost exactly $23.47. The same amount you told me you needed for emergency groceries the week before you went to Hawaii." The table went completely silent. I sat down and looked at each of them. "I have something I need to discuss with all of you. Something very important about honesty, family, and money." That's when my father cleared his throat. "Sarah, you seem upset about something. What's wrong?" I reached for the folder on my kitchen counter and placed it in the center of the table. "What's wrong is that I know everything." And then I began to reveal the truth that would change our family forever. I opened the folder and pulled out the first document, a bank statement showing the forged check. Let's start with this. While you were all in Hawaii having the time of your lives, someone forged my signature and stole $2,500 from my savings account. Emma's face went white. My parents exchanged glances. "Sarah, what are you talking about?" my mother asked, but her voice was shaky. "I'm talking about the fact that you took my spare key, entered my apartment without permission, stole my checkbook, and Emma deposited a forged check in Hawaii while you were all on vacation." I slid the bank statement across the table. "This is from my bank. The check was deposited at the Hawaii branch on the Friday you were there. Emma, would you like to explain how a check with my forged signature ended up in your account?" Emma couldn't speak. She just stared at the paper. "But that's just the beginning," I continued, pulling out more documents. "Let's talk about the $34,147 I've given this family over the past 18 months. Uncle Mike's eyebrows shot up. $34,000? "Yes. Based on the story that you were all struggling financially and needed help with basic expenses, like groceries and utilities." I spread out the bank transfer records. "Here's every payment I made. Every time you told me you couldn't afford rent or groceries or Emma's car payment." I pulled out my father's LinkedIn profile. "Dad, according to your own professional profile, you got promoted 8 months ago to senior regional manager. Your salary range is $75,000 to $95,000 annually. Mom, you've been working part-time for 6 months, earning around $25,000. Together, you make at least $100,000 per year." My father's jaw was clenched. "Sarah, you don't understand." "Oh, but I do understand. Let me show you what I understand." I pulled out the photos of their kitchen renovation. "This is your new kitchen. I looked up your contractor. This renovation cost $25,000. You did this renovation while telling me you couldn't afford groceries." I showed them the receipt from Emma's graduation party. "This is the catering bill for Emma's graduation party. You told me you needed $800 for a small family gathering. You actually spent $2,847 on a catered event for 40 people with a premium bar package." Emma was crying now, but I wasn't finished. "Let's talk about Hawaii. You told me Emma needed $4,500 for an art retreat to help with her depression." I pulled out printed screenshots of all their Facebook posts. "These are your social media posts from Hawaii. This wasn't an art retreat. This was a luxury family vacation for 6 people." I placed the hotel receipt on the table. "This is your final hotel bill. $18,493 for a week at a luxury resort. Spa treatments, helicopter tours, premium dining packages, suite upgrades." The room was completely silent except for Emma's sniffling. But wait, there's more. I pulled out Emma's Venmo transaction history. "Emma, you're not unemployed and struggling. You've been receiving $1,500 per month in allowance from mom and dad. Weekly pedicures, shopping sprees, spa weekends with friends." I looked directly at Emma. "You've been getting more spending money per month than most people make at full-time jobs while I worked 50-hour weeks and ate ramen noodles because I thought I was helping my struggling family." Uncle Mike stood up. "We should go. This is a family matter." "Sit down," I said firmly. "You were in Hawaii too. You benefited from this fraud, so you're going to hear all of it." He sat back down. I pulled out the final document, the legal demand letter from my attorney. This is a formal demand letter from my lawyer documenting the financial fraud, theft, and systematic deception you've all participated in. The forged check alone is a felony. The total amount you've obtained from me through false pretenses is $34,147, plus the $2,500 in theft. My mother was crying now, too. Sarah, you don't understand. You never meant what? To get caught? I stood up and looked at all of them. For my entire life, I have been the responsible one. The one who worked harder, achieved more, and asked for less. While Emma got praised for mediocrity, I was expected to excel without recognition. When Emma needed college paid for, you found the money. When I needed college paid for, I was told to figure it out myself. My voice was getting stronger. I worked 3 jobs through college while Emma partied. I got a good job and started my career while Emma moved back home to find herself. And when you needed money, who did you come to? Not Emma, who was perfectly capable of working. You came to me. I picked up one of their Hawaii photos, but it was never enough to just take my money. You had to lie to me about why you needed it. You had to make me feel guilty for having financial stability. You had to convince me that I was selfish if I didn't help. I threw the photo back on the table, and then, while I was funding your lifestyle, you went on a family vacation without me. You posted about your perfect family vacation and your amazing family bonding, while I sat at home eating ramen noodles because I had given you so much money I could barely afford groceries. Emma finally spoke through her tears. Sarah, I'm sorry, I didn't know. You didn't know what? That I was paying for your lifestyle? Emma, I transferred money to Mom and Dad's account every month for over a year. You live in their house. You knew exactly where that money was coming from. I turned to my parents. And you too. You took my spare key and stole from my apartment. You forged my signature. You committed multiple felonies while I was at work, earning the money you were stealing. My father finally spoke. Sarah, we can pay you back. With what money? The money you don't actually have because you've been living beyond your means for years? Or are you going to get another loan and ask me to help you pay it back? I sat back down and looked at all of them. I heard what you said about me to my neighbor, how I'm uptight about money, and I act like I'm doing you some huge favor when I help out. How I have no idea how good I have it, being single with no responsibilities. I laughed, but there was no humor in it, no responsibilities. I had the responsibility of supporting 3 adults financially while working full-time and maintaining my own household. But somehow, I'm the one with no responsibilities. I picked up my phone and showed them that I had been recording. This entire conversation has been recorded. I have documented every lie, every theft, every dollar of fraud. I have evidence of your real financial situation, proof of your luxury purchases, and documentation of your systematic deception. The room was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking. Here's what's going to happen next. You have 2 choices. I placed 2 pieces of paper on the table. Option 1. You immediately pay back every dollar you have taken from me through fraud and theft, $37,147 total. You also publicly acknowledge on social media that your Hawaii vacation and lifestyle upgrades were funded through deception. You apologize publicly for excluding me from family events while taking my money. I pointed to the second paper. Option 2. I file criminal charges for check fraud, theft, and financial fraud. I sue you in civil court for the money you've stolen plus damages. I provide all of this evidence to the district attorney's office and let them decide how many felony charges to file. Emma was sobbing. Sarah, please, I'm not finished. Regardless of which option you choose, our financial relationship is over. I will never give any of you another dollar for any reason. You will never again have access to my home, my accounts, or my personal information. I looked directly at my parents. You taught me that family helps family, but you also taught me that family can lie, steal, and betray each other without consequence. You were wrong about the consequences. I picked up the cheap pasta bowl in front of me. This dinner cost $23.47. The same amount you told me you desperately needed for groceries while you were planning your $19,000 vacation. I thought it was appropriate. I stood up again. You have 48 hours to decide which option you want to choose. After that, the decision will be made for you. The silence stretched for a full minute before my father spoke. Sarah, you're our daughter. We love you. We never meant for it to go this far. If you loved me, you wouldn't have stolen from me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have lied to me for over a year. If you loved me, you would have invited me on the family vacation instead of using my money to pay for it while excluding me. I walked to my front door and opened it. Your 48 hours starts now. One by one, they filed out of my apartment. Emma was the last to leave. Sarah, I really am sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. Emma, you're 24 years old. You're not a child. You made choices. And now you get to live with the consequences. After they left, I sat in my quiet apartment surrounded by the evidence of their betrayal and felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt proud of myself. For the first time in my adult life, I had stood up for myself completely. I had been smart, strategic, and strong. I had refused to be a victim, but I wasn't done yet. The next 48 hours would determine whether my family chose accountability or consequences. Either way, I was finally free. And what happened next would prove that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be taken advantage of anymore. The next 24 hours were completely silent. No calls, no texts, no attempts at contact from any family member. I went to work, had normal conversations with colleagues, and enjoyed the most peaceful evening I'd had in months. But Tuesday evening at 7:43 p.m., my phone rang. It was my mother. Sarah, we need to talk. The 48 hours isn't up yet, Mom. You have until Thursday evening. We want to choose option 1. We want to make this right. I sat down with a notebook. Okay, let's talk details. We can pay you back, but we need time. We don't have $37,000 just sitting around. Mom, you just spent $19,000 on a vacation. You renovated your kitchen for $25,000. You bought a $3,500 lawnmower. Where did that money come from if you don't have savings? Silence. We took out a home equity loan. There it was. They had been borrowing against their house to fund their lifestyle, then using my money to make the loan payments. They were even deeper in financial trouble than I had realized. How much do you owe on the home equity loan? About $65,000. So you owe $65,000 on your house loan, plus the $37,000 you stole from me, and you want me to give you time to pay me back while you continue living in a house you can't afford with furniture you can't afford, and driving cars. You can't afford? Sarah, please, we're family. No, Mom, family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't lie for over a year to defraud each other. Family doesn't exclude each other from vacations while using their money to pay for it. I took a deep breath. Here's my final offer. You have 1 week to secure a loan to pay me back in full, $37,347. You will also post a public apology on Facebook, acknowledging that you lied about your financial situation and took money from me under false pretenses. The apology must be posted for at least 30 days. Sarah, a public apology will humiliate us. You publicly humiliated me by posting about your perfect family vacation that I wasn't invited to but was forced to pay for. You can handle some public accountability for your actions. What if we can't get a loan? Then you sell the house, pay off your debts, and find housing you can actually afford. Emma gets a job, a real job, and starts supporting herself like an adult. There was a long pause. And if we do all of this, you'll forgive us? We can go back to being a family? I had been expecting this question. Mom, I will never trust any of you again. You spent over a year systematically lying to me, stealing from me, and manipulating me. You forged my signature and committed felonies. That's not something you come back from. So what's the point of paying you back if you're never going to forgive us? The point is that actions have consequences. You stole money, so you pay it back. You committed fraud, so you face accountability. This isn't about earning forgiveness. This is about basic justice. You're being very cruel, Sarah. I'm being fair. Cruel would be pressing criminal charges immediately and letting you figure out how to pay legal fees while sitting in jail. She hung up on me. Wednesday passed without contact. Thursday morning, I received a text from Emma. Can we please talk? Just you and me? I agreed to meet her for coffee that evening. Emma looked terrible. She had clearly been crying, hadn't slept, and seemed to have aged 5 years and 3 days. Sarah, I need you to know that I never understood how much money you were giving Mom and Dad. I knew you helped out sometimes, but I didn't know it was over $30,000. Emma, you live in their house. You saw me transfer $2,200 every month for over a year. You had to know. I thought that was like a loan or something. I thought you were investing in the family business or helping with a big project. What family business? What big project? She couldn't answer. Emma, you received but $1,500 per month from them in allowance. Where did you think that money came from? I thought Dad got a big promotion and they finally had extra money. He did get a promotion, but his entire salary was going to the home equity loan payments for the kitchen renovation and the lifestyle upgrades. The money you were getting came from me. She started crying again. I never asked them to lie to you. I never asked them to exclude you from Hawaii. I was so depressed after college, and they said they wanted to help me figure things out. Emma, you're 24 years old. You have a college degree. You are fully capable of getting a job and supporting yourself. Instead, you chose to let your parents steal from your sister to fund your extended adolescence. What do you want me to do? I can't change what happened. I want you to get a job today, any job. Start taking responsibility for your own life instead of expecting other people to fund your existence. And then what? You'll forgive me? I looked at my sister, really looked at her, for the first time in years. She wasn't the struggling artist, trying to find her way. She was a 24-year-old woman who had never been held accountable for anything in her life. Emma, I don't think you understand what you've lost. You didn't just take my money. You participated in destroying my ability to trust my own family. That's not something you can fix by getting a job and saying sorry. So that's it? You're just going to cut us all off forever? I'm going to live my life without being financially exploited by people who are supposed to love me. If that feels like punishment to you, maybe you should think about what that says about how you've been treating me. She left the coffee shop crying. Thursday evening at exactly 6 p.m., my phone rang. Sarah, it's Dad. We've secured a personal loan to pay you back. We can have a cashier's check for the full amount by Friday afternoon. And the public apology? We'll post it tonight. I want to approve the wording before you post it, he texted. Me a draft 30 minutes later. We want to publicly apologize to our daughter, Sarah. We made serious mistakes in how we handled family finances, and we took money from Sarah under false pretenses. We also excluded her from family activities that she had helped pay for. We are deeply sorry for the hurt we caused, and we are taking steps to make full restitution. We love Sarah and we hope she can eventually forgive us. Not acceptable, I texted back. Too vague. Here's what you're going to post. I wrote a new version. We need to publicly apologize to our daughter Sarah and acknowledge some serious mistakes. Over the past 18 months, we told Sarah we were struggling financially and needed help with basic expenses like groceries and utilities. This was not true. We used the money Sarah gave us, over $34,000, to pay for luxury items including a kitchen renovation, expensive purchases, and a family vacation to Hawaii that cost nearly $19,000. We did not invite Sarah on this vacation, despite her paying for it. We also took money directly from Sarah's bank account without permission. We lied to Sarah about our financial situation while living beyond our means and expecting her to subsidize our lifestyle. We are paying Sarah back in full, and we understand that we have permanently damaged our relationship with her. We are sorry for the financial fraud, the lies, and the betrayal of trust. My father called me immediately. Sarah, we can't post that. It's too detailed. It makes us look terrible. Dad, you committed financial fraud against your own daughter for over a year. You should look terrible. People will judge us. People should judge you. Actions have consequences. What if we compromise? We'll post something in between. No compromise. You post exactly what I wrote, or I file criminal charges tomorrow morning. Friday afternoon, I received a cashier's check for $37,347, the Facebook. Post went live Friday evening. The response was immediate and overwhelming. 37 comments in the first hour, ranging from shock to support for me to condemnation of my parents. Several family friends reached out to me directly to express their disgust at what my parents had done. My cousin Jessica called me that evening. Sarah, I am so proud of you for standing up for yourself. What they did was horrible and they needed to face consequences. My former college roommate, who was Facebook friends with my mother, texted me, "Holy shit, Sarah, I just saw your mom's post. I can't believe they did that to you." Are you okay? For the first time in years, I felt like people saw me clearly. Not as the uptight sister who was obsessed with money, but as someone who had been systematically victimized by her own family. But the real validation came from an unexpected source. Saturday morning, Emma called me. "Sarah, I got a job yesterday. It's just retail for now, but it's full-time with benefits. I start Monday." "That's good, Emma. I also want you to know that I understand why you can't forgive us. I've been thinking about it for 3 days, and if someone did to me what we did to you, I don't think I could forgive them either." It was the first time Emma had ever acknowledged the full scope of what they had done. "I'm not saying this to try to get you to change your mind," she continued. "I'm saying it because I finally understand that what we did wasn't just about money. We treated you like you didn't matter while expecting you to take care of us." "Emma, no, let me finish. You were right about everything. I am 24 years old. I should have been working. I should have been contributing. Instead, I let Mom and Dad steal from you to pay for my lifestyle, and then I acted like you were the problem when you got upset about money." She paused. "I can't fix what I did. But I can promise you that I will never again expect other people to fund my life. I'm going to take care of myself from now on." For the first time since this whole situation began, I felt something other than anger or hurt. I felt proud of Emma for finally taking responsibility. "I'm glad you got a job, Emma. I really am. I know we can't go back to how things were, but maybe someday, when I've proven that I can be a responsible adult, we could have some kind of relationship again?" "Maybe," I said, "but that's going to depend on your actions, not your words." "I understand." After I hung up, I realized that this was exactly the outcome I had hoped for. Not reconciliation or forgiveness, but accountability and change. My parents were facing the financial consequences of their choices. Emma was finally taking responsibility for her own life, and I was free from being their victim. Justice had been served, not through revenge or cruelty, but through natural consequences and the truth. And for the first time in my adult life, I was truly free to build my own life without carrying the weight of their dysfunction. 6 months have passed since that confrontation in my apartment, and my life has transformed in ways I never expected. The first change was immediate and practical. I had $37,147 back in my savings account. Plus, I was no longer sending $2,200 per month to my family. For the first time since college, I had financial freedom. I used some of the money to take a real vacation, a solo trip to Italy that I had dreamed about for years but never thought I could afford. I spent 2 weeks exploring Rome, Florence, and Venice, eating amazing food, visiting museums, and having conversations with myself about who I wanted to be now that I wasn't defined by my family's dysfunction. When I came back, I made more changes. I bought a car, not a practical economy car like I had been driving, but a car I actually wanted. I moved to a better apartment with a home office where I could work on freelance projects. I started investing seriously in my retirement and my future. But the most important changes weren't financial. They were personal. I started therapy to work through the complex emotions of family betrayal and financial abuse. My therapist helped me understand that what my family had done wasn't just about money. It was about power, control, and a lifetime pattern of treating me as responsible for everyone else's problems while denying me basic respect and consideration. Learned to recognize that my people-pleasing tendencies and my fear of conflict had made me vulnerable to manipulation. I practiced setting boundaries and saying no without feeling guilty. Most importantly, I learned that cutting off toxic family members isn't cruel or wrong. It's necessary self-preservation. The social media fallout from my parents' public apology was exactly what I had hoped for. Several relatives and family friends reached out to express their support and share their own stories of being manipulated by family members. I realized I wasn't alone in having experienced this kind of treatment. My parents' reputation in our community was permanently damaged, which was appropriate given their behavior. They lost several friendships and faced social consequences that money couldn't fix. But the most satisfying development was watching Emma's transformation. She kept her retail job for 3 months, then leveraged that experience into a better position at a marketing company. She moved out of my parents' house and into her own apartment. She started paying her own bills, buying her own groceries, and managing her own life. 4 months after our confrontation, Emma called me. "Sarah, I need to tell you something. I've been in therapy since all of this happened, and I've been working on understanding my role in what we did to you." "Okay." "I want to be clear that I'm not calling to ask for forgiveness or to try to repair our relationship. I'm calling because I owe you an acknowledgement that I don't think I fully gave you before." She took a deep breath. "What we did to you wasn't just financial fraud. It was emotional abuse. We made you responsible for problems you didn't create. Then we punished you for having reasonable boundaries about money. We treated you like a bank account instead of a person." "Emma, I spent 24 years watching Mom and Dad treat you differently than they treated me, and I never said anything because it benefited me. When they praised me for mediocre accomplishments while ignoring your actual achievements, I liked the attention. When they paid for my college while making you figure out your own funding, I told myself I deserved it." She was crying, but her voice was steady. "I participated in a family dynamic that was fundamentally unfair to you, and then when you finally stood up for yourself, we acted like you were the problem. I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover what I owe you, but I am sorry." This was the conversation I had needed to have with Emma for years. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot to hear you acknowledge the full scope of what happened. I also want you to know that I understand why you can't have a relationship with us right now. Maybe not ever. What we did broke something that can't be easily fixed. It did break something. But Emma, I'm proud of you for getting your life together. I'm proud of you for taking responsibility. That matters, even if it doesn't fix everything. I hope someday I can prove to you that I've really changed. Not to earn forgiveness, but because you deserve to see that your decision to confront us actually helped me become a better person. You're already proving it by taking care of yourself and being honest about what happened." We ended the call on a note that felt like closure rather than reconciliation, which was exactly what I needed. My parents, on the other hand, never fully accepted responsibility for their actions. They paid me back and posted the apology, but they spent months afterward telling relatives that I had overreacted and been vindictive. They claimed they had just made some mistakes with money, and that I had destroyed the family over a misunderstanding. This confirmed that I had made the right decision in cutting contact with them entirely. The most unexpected positive change in my life has been my relationships with other people. Learning to set boundaries with my family taught me to set boundaries everywhere. I stopped working unpaid, overtime at my job, and started advocating for myself professionally. I ended a few friendships that had become one-sided and draining. I started dating someone who respects my financial independence and doesn't see my success as something that should benefit him. I also deepened my relationships with people who had always treated me with genuine respect. My cousin Jessica and I became much closer. Several college friends reached out when they heard about what had happened, and I realized I had more support than I had known. 1 year after the confrontation, I received a letter from Emma. She had been promoted to a marketing coordinator position and was saving money to go back to school for her MBA. She had also started volunteering with a financial literacy nonprofit, helping young adults learn to manage money and avoid predatory family relationships. "I know I can't undo the damage I participated in," she wrote. "But I want you to know that losing your respect and trust has been the most important wake-up call of my life. I'm becoming the kind of person who deserves to be your sister, even if I never get that chance again." Reading that letter, I felt something I hadn't expected. Hope. Not hope for reconciliation necessarily, but hope that Emma was building a life based on integrity rather than entitlement. Today, as I write this story, I want other people to understand something important. You are not obligated to fund other people's poor financial decisions, even if they are family members. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Family relationships should be based on mutual respect, honesty, and genuine care for each other's well-being. When family members lie to you, steal from you, and manipulate you, they are not acting like family. They are acting like predators. The hardest part of my situation wasn't losing the money. It was accepting that my parents and sister had been willing to betray me systematically for over a year. It was acknowledging that they saw me as a resource to be exploited rather than a person to be valued. But once I accepted that reality, I was free to build a life based on my own values and priorities. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm not waiting for apologies or hoping for reconciliation. I'm living my own life, surrounded by people who treat me with respect, building wealth for my own future, and using my time and energy on relationships that are based on reciprocity and genuine affection. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim anymore. Sometimes justice is just living well while the people who tried to use you face the natural consequences of their choices. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family members is to stop enabling their dysfunction and force them to take responsibility for their own lives. I learned that I am worth more than what I can provide to other people financially. I learned that my value isn't determined by how much I sacrifice for others. I learned that boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. Most importantly, I learned that family isn't defined by blood or shared DNA. Family is defined by love, respect, honesty, and mutual support. The people who stole from me and lied to me for over a year weren't acting like family, no matter what our biological relationship was. The people in my life now, the ones who celebrate my successes, support me during challenges, and treat me as an equal partner in our relationships. Those people are my real family. And that family is stronger, healthier, and more loving than the one I was born into ever was. Looking back on this experience, I realized that standing up to my family was the most important thing I've ever done for myself. It taught me that I have the strength to demand respect, the intelligence to recognize manipulation, and the courage to choose my own well-being over other people's comfort. If you're in a similar situation, being financially exploited by family, members who claim to love you while treating you like an ATM, I want you to know that you deserve better. You deserve relationships based on mutual respect, not manipulation. You deserve to keep the money you earn through your hard work. You deserve to be included in family activities, not used to fund them while being excluded. Most importantly, you deserve to define your own worth based on who you are, not what you can provide to others. The people who truly love you will never systematically lie to you, steal from you, or manipulate you. The people who do those things are showing you exactly how they really feel about you. Believe them. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which part of this story surprised you the most? Have you ever dealt with financial manipulation from family members? What would you have done in my situation? And if this story resonated with you, please subscribe to my channel. I share more stories about setting boundaries, recognizing toxic behavior, and building a life based on your own values rather than other people's expectations. Remember, you are worth more than what you can give to others. You deserve respect. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable toxic behavior even when it comes from family. Thank you for listening to my story.